You're tuned to the IP Communications and VoIP community in our 11th year. To produce these weekly meetings, we really appreciate the support of Simwood.com. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Our longtime friends at Greenfield Tech can make your tech dreams feasible and affordable. Go to greenfield.tech. For 8 years, we've been using the finest conference server around zipdx.com. The VUC website is on bluehost.com. Local rate dial-ins from around the world are from voxbone.com. All right, and with that, I just want to make a couple of very quick announcements. The first one is, you notice that we thank people who help us out, but we're not going to interrupt the session in any shape or form to repeat any kind of commercials or anything. That's the way we run. And I would like you to consider writing us with your opinions. Write to opinion@vuc.me. We'd love to hear what you think about the future of this, because we've been doing it for 11 years. We've kind of run out of ideas. We don't know what we're going to do now. No, we don't. We do. But I'd like to hear the areas you might like us to cover, and anything else that comes to your mind, good, bad, or ugly. It doesn't matter. Just go for it, okay? I'm going to switch my camera over to live because there's a little bit of lag. Thank you, Corrado, for ruining my day with the 200 millisecond lag that you told me about. We're going to go from the regulars. Well, James Bodie isn't. He's with us, but he is not live. So I'm going to switch to the aforenamed Corrado to introduce him. Hello, Corrado.
Hello. Good afternoon, morning, evening, everywhere you are.
Mr. Andy Smith is with us as a regular.
Yeah, good. Ubiquitous hello.
There you go. And Mr. Michael Graves, co-producing.
I didn't realize you were with Ubiquity, Andy.
Neither did I, but hey.
And our honored guest today, and he's going to tell me if I'm pronouncing his name even close, it's Amir Zmora.
Perfect, actually.
Oh, thank you. I'll keep that in mind. I'll try to remember that. Amir, as you know, we have a little bit of a tradition here where we ask our guests, regardless of what they're actually doing at the moment, how they initially got into tech in general, how they got into this area of tech, and then lead it up to maybe other things you've done, and then what you are doing now. And as I told you, reminded you, you are also an author and you're on a bunch of sites, so we're going to list those two. Go ahead, Amir.
Okay, thanks. So my early start at tech was when I was still a child, not something very significant, I would say. Many people, like to play around with computers, do some very basic things, and with BASIC and all kind of other stuff, and even taught a little bit coding when I was still a kid. But then I kind of took a pretty long gap, and then afterwards, at university and so forth, I got back into it and did several years as a developer, and eventually decided that I want to move to do some other things around technology that are more outbound and product related. And I was for many years at Radvision. I was actually altogether 10 years, but it was 5 and 5 with 4 years in the middle. My last position was the VP product of the technology business unit there. And somewhere along the way, the company got acquired by Avaya, and that was the time that I started to look for other things to do. And that was also the time that WebRTC was starting to really pick up. And I started, learning a lot about it, eventually also writing about it. I had a good partner working together with me, shoulder to shoulder, who is very known for WebRTC, Tzachi Levent-Levy. So he is the one who actually introduced me to this. And that's why I also got to write about WebRTC. I started to do consulting after I left the company. I started to do consulting in this field. Eventually, I also saw a gap in the market that I wanted to fill, and that's why I started SwitchRTC.
It's cool. And while you were just at the end of what you said, I was looking over at, we're going to do a demo in a few moments, so stay with us for that. We should probably do a demo of, obviously, of SwitchRTC. But before we do that, let's talk about who might be interested in this. Well, everybody is, otherwise you're not watching it to this point. But what kind of entities would be looking for this, and what questions does it answer? What solutions does it bring to them?
Okay, so SwitchRTC, the focus of SwitchRTC is to provide, I call it video, high real-time, low delay, and interactive distribution of video to the browser. Okay, and this long statement actually can be split into two areas. One is video collaboration, as we're doing right now. And the second one is what I call interactive video CDN. And I'll get to that in just a second. The idea is that we provide a solution that is a complete solution, meaning we provide the client side, we provide the server side. I'll show a little bit about that when we'll show the demo, and I'll share a screen maybe through the demo, and I'll be able to show a little bit about architecture and stuff, and also a monitoring and management solution, which is a dashboard that I will show as well. So it's a complete solution that we provide as technology that companies can take and host by themselves. And that's one of the gaps that we saw in the market, because you have solutions that are, communication platform as a service, which are great, and I recommend them to many people, that actually this is what they need, that they do not have the capabilities to host by themselves, to manage scalability, to deal with all the DevOps and so forth, and they're good with such a platform. But there are others that need to control their own destiny. They need a lot of control of what's going on, where servers are being placed globally, how users are being served and from where, and a lot of more flexibility that they need. And that's the gap that we wanted to fill. Down the road, we saw that really the broadcasting space is very important, and we put a lot of focus on that area today. And I would say that scale is one of our important things and one of our advantages, and we'll be able to show a little bit about that.
Excellent. I just noticed something funny. We're going to see, we're going to see the demo. We're going to see the screen in a moment. By the way, the screen that I'm looking at, the SwitchRTC, everybody looks really good, which is amazing because they look better than they do in Hangouts, and I don't know why that is. Now, this will not be a fair demo in that I am, of course, sharing a screen, so there's some kind of definition loss or changeover. But I wanted to mention what's funny is that I'm actually on two different cameras, so that's that kind of tickled me, because if you can see, those of you who are on the SwitchRTC, you see that my hand is up. Yeah. And for those of you who are not, and you're looking on YouTube, you can see my hand is up someplace else. But anyway, the point is two totally different cameras, so that may be an advantage, actually.
Well, actually, you can have more than one. If you want, you can now connect two cameras. If you click on the plus sign on SwitchRTC, maybe we'll do it during the demo, you can connect another camera, and we'll have two streams of you, so you'll be...
And we'll do that on the demo. I'm hearing some extraneous noise. Now, where is that coming from? Is that on your end?
When you get echo?
Well, no, I'm just hearing some like noises that are not...
Let me put this in.
It's probably, I think it's coming through.
Oh, you need to mute yourself. Everybody in SwitchRTC needs to mute. That's probably the answer. Mute your mic. Click on the little microphone icon. Oh, Opus too. Okay. Yeah, click on your thing there because we're getting you back.
89, goodness. Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So, what else should we talk about before we go to the demo, Amir?
I can talk a little bit about the type of customers that we serve today.
Absolutely.
So since it's kind of a generic platform, then it's a pretty wide variety of companies and segments. We have customers in the consumer space, video share and stuff like that, that is high scale, really pushing the limits. And I'm not allowed to talk too much about what they do with us, but I can say that it's... I don't know of too many or anybody that can do the scale of the things that we're doing with them on the video side, and I cannot say much, I'm sorry. Other areas, service providers. Service providers, usually over-the-top service providers that don't own the network. They had voice only, and they wanted to add video collaboration. They're feeling competition from, the UC, large UC vendors like Microsoft and others, and that's why they wanted this type of solution. They can customize it and host it by themselves, which is an advantage for them. Healthcare, that is, doing all kind of things with various cameras that are connected to the system and some other interesting things that are special for healthcare that they developed in their application. Other consumer solutions for interviews and posting videos and stuff like that on the consumer level. So it's a pretty wide range of type of applications.
And I'm just telling Michael that he says he thinks he has a higher. If you think it's better, Michael, we can go with that. I'm happy to. The thing is, what I'm looking at here on SwitchRTC looks really good, so it would be a shame if we don't have a good share of it. Michael, what do you got going? Oh, there it is. Where is Michael? Where's Michael's share? This would be it here with Andy live? Yeah.
Like I got you guys.
Yeah, it looks like it's right. That's what's happening.
Are you sharing that? Yeah, I think you're sharing.
Corrado, you're moving. Keep moving. Dance for us.
Yeah, you're sharing. I see the statistics. Okay, it doesn't look that great when you share a screen of a video, but this is what we have. So you want me to talk a little bit more? Maybe I'll share. Well, it's kind of a strange thing. I'm going to share my screen in SwitchRTC, and then you're going to show it there. Okay. We'll do it like that for a second, and
just so that people know what's going on here, a SwitchRTC session in Chrome on my second monitor is being captured into and funneled into the Hangout. So it's a hop, skip, and but it's pretty hardware centric.
Yeah.
And Andy, please mute yourself in the SwitchRTC, and everybody else should too, by the way. There's a microphone icon on your little profile thing. I'm not seeing you muted, though.
No, but I am muted, but it changed when I changed the input.
Okay, but that's what you need to know. When you change the input, you need to remute.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what you should do, if you can put the screen share in full screen on Hangouts, then we'll see the SwitchRTC full screen share. The one who is pushing it into the, I don't know if it's, who is it? Is it Andy?
Yeah, no, it's Michael. I've got it. I've got SwitchRTC full screen.
Okay, now we see it. Okay, good. Now we see it. So what I wanted to show, actually 2 images from here. I think you also put them on the promotion for the session. So when I talk about high scale, this part shows part of what I want to talk about. The solution that we built is a cloud-native solution where every function, I would say, of the system, microservice that can run in a different location. It can be on a different server. It can be distributed globally. And you can manage this, and by that you can serve users from the closest location to where they are. And at a very high-level perspective, what you see here is you see a signaling server at the top, which is Node.js, and you see 3 media servers. And there are 2 interesting things that you can do with this. One, you can decide in your application, or based on the default logic that we provide, each session, each video session, to be served for, okay? You can do just a very simple round robin, or you can do whatever other logic that you have. That's one thing. And then you can scale the system and bring up more servers as you see that load is increasing. What you can do is you can take a single session between more than 1 media server. And that really allows you to scale, 1. And 2, it also allows you to support some strange requirements that actually I just posted about it earlier this week before a webinar I did with Tzachi, that we got requirements from a customer that they have users from enterprises that are, many users are joining from the same local network. And they wanted to avoid a lot of traffic that is going between the enterprise and the internet. So what we allowed them to do is actually to split the session between a primary server that is sitting outside in the public cloud and a local server, which is secondary to the primary one. And then the session can be split between these two, and they can actually serve the local users from a local server and minimize the streams and the traffic that is going over the public internet. Okay, so that's one thing I wanted to show. The other thing I wanted to show is this, and this is the cluster of servers that we have. And this is more for the, for the broadcasting type of scenarios. What you can see here, you can see one presenter, but in reality, you can have more than one. It's just a limitation of the image and the size of the image. So you can have multiple presenters. The guy we see on the left with standing up, and he's being served by a primary server that you see in the circle there, which is actually the globe. And from there, video is sent to all the secondary servers. And from there, it's sent, of course, to the users. And you can have many secondary servers, and by that, you can really scale the system. But you're not limited to only serving video from the primary server. Meaning, let's say you have an education scenario, that you have a teacher that is sending video to, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000 students, whatever. And now he wants to bring one of the students live to present the work that he did. So what will happen, and we can demonstrate this actually now, I'll show you in just a second how we do that. What you can do is he can invite through our APIs, let's say this user who is sitting down here on the chair, the video from this user will go to the secondary server that is serving this specific user, from there to the primary one, and from there distributed to all the other secondary servers and all the other users. Okay, so that's another thing, and maybe I'll just stop screen share for a second, so we'll have less screens here. And if you want to demonstrate the way to do what I just explained, that you actually play and toggle between the mode of the user, between send and receive only, you can see, maybe Randy, you can do that. You see that at the left top of your screen on SwitchRTC, you see an icon of a spy. The top left.
Let's see if we can, so I've got Michael back on, and he's the one sharing here.
Okay, so Michael, do you want to do that? But okay. If he's the one sharing, then no, it's not so good, because he will disappear and the share will disappear. We need somebody else to do that.
Okay.
So Randy, on your screen of SwitchRTC, you see at the top left the icon of the spy?
Right.
Yeah? So before you click on it, what this will do, it will move you to a mode of receive only.
Okay.
This means that if you see in the statistics now that you are sending one stream of Opus and VP9, once you will click on it, you will see that you're not sending, but you will still hear us and see us. So you'll be invisible, you'll be a spy. And then in order to come back, what you'll do is you'll click on the plus icon that you see a little bit below that. If you just click on it even now, you will see that there is a green button with add. That adds a stream. With that, you can add more cameras, okay? You can have more than one camera connected to the session. You can try that out as well.
Okay.
So click on the spy for a second.
Here we go. Spy mode.
Spy mode. You disappeared, right? We don't see you, but you will hear us and you can see us. And now click on the plus.
Of course, I'm still on the Hangout, so they can still hear me.
Yeah, we hear you through the Hangout, but on SwitchRTC, we will not hear you. And now click on the plus and the add.
I'm going to add. Actually, we'll leave the audio input off.
Okay.
And we can add this, which will add a stream. Okay.
Okay.
And,
you're back in, but the audio.
Yeah, no, I mute the audio because that's just going to confuse everybody.
Okay. Yeah.
So that stream, okay, and you say I can keep adding other cameras.
Yeah, you can add another one. Yeah, why not? If you have another camera.
Well, just a second. Let's add. Yeah, I have 3 cameras, in fact.
Okay.
2 of them are horrible, but let me add this one.
Add a good
now, one. And kill The audio. Okay. And now I'm going to change this back to the slide. So the two presences, I've got the slide presence. Well, actually, I'm not going to, Michael is showing this, so he should be seeing.
Yeah, you should.
I'm blocked by, we see a film strip, as I told everybody. We have a thing that's covering the bottom, so I couldn't tell if it was working or not. But yeah, I see.
Yeah, right, we see, and the only thing we need is to share. If you will share SwitchRTC again, put it as full screen, then everybody would see, because you said that on YouTube they don't see the film strip at the bottom that we see on Hangout. So
I have the SwitchRTC full screen in a full screen web session as well.
Okay.
And right now I don't have anybody pinned, so I think it's just switching between you.
Yeah, well, there is no dominant speaker detection because we're all muted, so it cannot detect anything. But yeah.
I can go to Randy's second.
Now we see Randy's slide. Yeah.
Yeah, which is Randy's slide.
Okay. Now.
Okay, I've got two different. Look at this. I've got two different cameras. Three sources going. I've got the hand up, which is my best camera. I have the. Which I know this one, which is a horrible Mac display camera. Not even.
Oh, don't say that. I'm using a Mac camera as well.
They're not even 1020 for this price. They should be 2048. Anyway, and then there's the text which says email us.
Okay. So you can see in the statistics, you can see how many streams we have there. I already lost count, but we have pretty large number of streams, and we're doing much larger sessions. Actually, we even did cases of several hundreds of people all sending video. But of course, you're not showing 100 or 200 people on the screen, because that will be impossible to really see anybody. So we have APIs that allow the application to choose which streams are being sent to each user. Okay, so you can have a few hundreds of people sending video into the SwitchRTC server, or servers if you split it between a few, and you will be able to decide in your application dynamically and switch that all the time, which streams are sent to each user. By user, you can decide that. Okay. Another thing I wanted to show, I said that it's a complete solution, so I'll show now the dashboard that we have. Just let me log in. Okay, I'll share my screen again. Okay, and if you can make that actually the main screen on Hangouts.
I'm not sure what we're doing anymore. Like, that's your screen, and then Michael, you need to be focused.
Now we all see it. Yeah, good. Don't change.
Okay, no, I got it. Good.
Yeah. No, but I think you need to pin it in as because the dominant speaker on Hangouts is changing all the time when somebody speaks.
No, it won't change now. But it's Michael. Is that what we want?
I've got it pinned. Like, I picked Randy, but now I'm picking the shared slide.
Okay.
Okay, now we see it. Great, thank you. Okay, so the dashboard, the dashboard gives you a really complete view of many instances of SwitchRTC. You can have more than one instance, and the dashboard will give you a view of all of these. You can see now, in this case, we have 3 instances. I'll tell you in a secret that they're all running on a very small AWS server, but it doesn't matter. They can run wherever you want, and they will all report to the dashboard. I start scrolling down here. You can see each one of these instances, and you can see some numbers and some information about them. Okay, I can of course click on it and go to the signaling server. Recorder is attached, and so forth. You can see all the instances. And then if I will go and look at the specific instance, let's look at the one that we are using right now, the demo, then I can see that we have 7 peers connected, and we have 2 media servers attached. We'll get to that in a second. And there's just one session. It's our session running now on the server. And I can go down and take a look at the media servers. So, so we see here 2 media servers, 4x8 and 8877. And we are served here by media server, this one, 4x8, so I can look at it. I can see some information about the server. You can see here that I can detach the server, meaning I can remove it from the instance, and I can attach a server. Okay, so I can increase the media server that are being used by this specific signaling server. And I can also see some information about the recording server. At the moment, we don't have one here. We didn't attach one. And I can also look at the configuration. I can actually dynamically make changes to the configuration of the servers. Okay? And then the next thing that we will do is take a look at the sessions. And at the moment, we have, as we saw before, one session. The screen doesn't look so nice on the double screen share, but it's still possible to see it. So we can see that this session, we can see when it started, we can see the name, we can search here if we had more sessions, the number of media servers that actually are serving the session. So because I mentioned we can have more than one media server serving it, number of peers. I can limit all kind of things, like I can make it an invite-only session. I can decide that it will close when everybody leaves or not. Information. So let's look down here. Some properties of the session. And these are the default permissions. When a user joins in, these are the default permissions that the user will have. Media server we saw before. The interesting thing is here, I can actually see all the peers. I can play around with them if I want to. I won't do it now. Let's say Andy. If I want, I can remove him from the session. Okay, but I will be nice. I will not do that. And I can see more information about what computer is using and so forth, and the permissions that he has. Now, Andy, if you look at the SwitchRTC screen, you probably see an icon of a screen at the top left, right?
Hang on, I've got too many windows open.
Wake up, Andy.
Yeah, I'm awake. Okay, so I've got, sorry, I'm looking for an icon top right. Top left.
Top left.
Yeah. Okay, yes. Switch to receive only mode.
No, don't do that. You see the screen of the icon of a screen.
Yep.
Are you sure you see it?
Yes.
It disappeared now.
No, well, in which case I don't see it.
Now it's back on.
There, yes.
Now
yeah, it's back. Yes.
So,
I had
okay, and now I'll put you an icon for recording. Okay, you see a circle, and now I took it away. I can turn you from here.
Dynamically changing dynamically.
Exactly. So I can actually have full control of everything that is going on in your user experience, and all of this can be also controlled through our REST APIs. The dashboard is just demonstrating how to use our REST APIs. You can do that through your application. So the idea is that companies can take and integrate this. If you talk of a service provider, they have their own OSS, VSS, they want to do integration, they can use our REST APIs to do that, or you can use our dashboard to do many, many things. Okay, so I think that's and one more thing I wanted to show. Sorry.
Just before you do, just to recap on that, so you can change the facilities available to individual participants.
Exactly. Yes.
That's
it's basically your permissions, and I can change them dynamically. Yeah. Okay.
That's very impressive.
And I can do another thing, because when you joined this demo, I just gave you a URL. Everybody used the same URL, and not more than that. I can also create tokens. Now, these tokens can be created through our REST APIs. So if you have a BSS and OSS system that, let's say now you're registering a new user to the system, and you want a token so he can put in his sessions and so forth in his video room, you can do that through the REST APIs. I'm demonstrating how I do this in the dashboard. But again, all the dashboard is doing is calling our REST APIs. So you saw before permissions of users. Now I can take a token, okay, and I can set the permissions of the token. That he can do screen share. I can say that he can do audio only, and maybe I would actually say that the token will allow them to be receive only. It's a broadcasting session in education. So all the students will receive a token, receive only. So this token that you see here will be added to the URL that is sent to all the students. And when they get in, they will not get the experience that you have now, but they will get an experience that they only see the teacher, but are not seen, like we did to Randy before. And then the teacher will be able to change permissions dynamically and bring somebody on screen. Okay. So that's basically what I wanted to show you. I'll stop the screen share if okay. We have chat as well. I didn't show that, but I think chat is you know, pretty straightforward. No need to show it. Okay, now it's important to mention that all the things that you see in the application itself is a demo application. Of course, I don't expect people in production to show the statistics, and I'm pretty sure that they will put their logo instead of our logo, and they might change the layout of the sessions, and they can do whatever they want. We provide the SDK, and we provide on top of that this application in source. We have customers that just take it, change the logo, and that's it, and some that make their completely different look and feel.
Okay, should we stop the share? We have nothing else on the share, right?
Yeah, unless you have questions. You asked at VP9 before, so maybe I'll just say that we support, of course, VP9, VP8, and also H.264. It's just depending on the setting that you're putting, you can define the max bitrate that you want to be available and some other things. Okay.
Yeah, I've actually zoomed in on the stats so that people get a little better view of what's going on there. I'm curious about VP9, if only because it doesn't come up in conversation a lot. What's use like? What's availability like? Is it browsers only at this point, or is there any device support for it as well?
Well, the problem with VP9 is hardware acceleration. That's the challenge here, because the chipset vendors are not really, you know, it's not ubiquitous. So you don't have it really as hardware accelerated on mobile devices. And also, if you look at what Apple did, Apple is supporting H.264 only at this moment. So it pretty much pushes the industry, unfortunately, I would say, to H.264. It's not, you know, it doesn't mean that everybody will be using only H.264, but it creates some limitations. So what we did is we actually enable you to choose whatever you want, and you can make a decision in your application which one you would use depending on the user scenario, devices that are being used. And the more control you have over the users and the clients, the more choice you have. VP9 has a lot of advantages because it allows you to get better quality for a given bitrate. So it's, you know.
It's really interesting. So there's some very interesting, unique characteristics here too, and Andy underlined one of them. I'm going to ask if anybody has any questions other than, in other words,
join the chat.
Yeah, questions on either IRC or on ZipDX. You can hit *6 to unmute yourself or to toggle your mute state. Otherwise, anybody else? Mr. Bodie's with us again. I don't know where he was all this time. He probably missed everything. James.
Yes, hello. Well, I'm really annoyed.
You missed the whole thing.
Because I missed the whole thing, and I really wanted to see this demo, and I could hear bits of it in the background. But if I can just very quickly explain where I was. We've had a warm week or so of warm weather here. I live in a 400-year-old house with a thatched roof. When it's very warm and dry, the thatch contracts, and we've just had a monsoonal deluge. And the end result is I've just taken about 10 buckets of water out from inside my house to chuck outside the house because it's pouring through the roof. The joys of living in a 400-year-old house. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with WebRTC or anything like that. And I want to get back to technology, please.
So you missed the whole thing.
I missed the whole thing.
Well, you'll have to watch the archive. That's why we do these archive videos. Amir, I have a quick comment, which is this is some pretty amazing stuff, and the quality is huge. It's enormous quality. So my question is, when are we going to be able to stream to YouTube? In which case, we might be interested.
We hope that it will come soon. We'll be able to talk about this offline. Yes,
and
yes.
you know, yeah, we can talk about it after. Just to mention, though, seriously, some of the interesting things that people are doing. The other thing that might interest some people, not necessarily us, but of course, would be the same question for Facebook Live. And I think it's the same challenge as far as I know.
It's RTMP.
So yeah, so if you're working on that, that's all we need to talk about. Next question. Who else has a question?
I have a question. Having switched to receive-only mode, how do I get back?
Oh, there you see the plus.
Ah,
Click
right.
on the plus, and then the green button add. You will add a stream.
You add a video.
There we go.
You add a stream. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that's actually pretty amazing. No one has actually done it that way that I know of. And that's not only interesting from the fact that you can stream from 2 different sources, which would be handy for me, by the way, and Michael, but also the way it's switched. And I think that's nicely done, really.
Thank you.
Oh, I got to tell you, the reason why this is necessary and as easy as possible is that right now, anybody who's got a PowerPoint they need to show or some slides or what, software demo or whatever, you give up your view of the presenter,
Right.
which is just desperately bad. And you wouldn't live with it if you were at a live conference and that happened. So hang on, I'm going to add that. It won't let me do that.
And by the way, when you do screen share, you don't need to add the stream like that. You just click on screen share, and it just adds the screen share as another source. Okay, so it's not like another camera. It's just another. The screen is added regardless, and then you can also add more cameras.
So are you adding the screen share as another video stream?
Or yes,
the
screen share.
Okay, so are you using the data channel at all here?
No, the data channel is not used for it. It's sent like a real video, like the video of the people.
Okay, so you're not using the data channel at all for any of the control functions either?
No, there's no need for it. We have a secured WebSocket that is open, and all the control functions can go through that. We did play around with data channel. We did something. We didn't release anything with it, but at the moment we don't have. Oh, just 1 second. You see something very interesting now. On the SwitchRTC, if you can open it for a second as the main window on Hangouts. No, don't close it.
I don't know what happened.
Don't close it, Michael.
There's Michael. Okay.
You can share it again.
Okay.
We're on it.
So I'm adding.
We don't see it. Yeah, but we don't see it now in Hangouts. If you can add it in Hangouts, what you see is that even though you didn't add your camera, Michael, what you can see is that you have a preview, right?
Right.
So it actually gives you the ability. Now we see it. So now, if you had multiple cameras, that's very, convenient that you can actually see which camera you really chose. Because, as you said before, you have a few cameras; they may have the same name.
I do have multiple cameras, and it shows. It's nice that it shows an ID, device ID, for the cameras.
And you see a preview, so you can really see which one it is.
Yeah, and for example, if I do this, it's actually showing. For the production software that's capturing the screen, which is that's obtuse. Yeah.
And just mute the SwitchRTC one. We hear you twice.
Yeah, I have. Oh, do we? Hang on, that one. There we go.
Every time you refresh the stream, you have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 2 cameras hooked up right now. One that's feeding the actual view of me in SwitchRTC. And the other that's feeding me over here, which is not SwitchRTC. Yeah.
Okay. So, are there any moderator functions here? Do you have overall control of it? I mean, clearly you do on your dashboard. But
yeah.
Can you mute individual people easily? If there's
we have remote mute. I need to give you host permissions for that. But eventually, we have all the capabilities. At the end of the day, we expect our customers to build into their application whatever they need. We have this differentiation between just a presenter and a host. On the permission perspective, I showed it before on the dashboard. You had is a host as one of the permissions. And then you can give host capabilities, more things that he can do. Like, for example, to remote mute somebody.
It's a good point, actually, Amir, is that as far as an API or extending or plugins, what can someone do to do their own work? Maybe suppose they have some super secret thing that they don't want to hire you to do or whatever. I mean, is there a mechanism for that, first of all?
Well, first of all, we don't want people to be required to get our time to build their application. Actually, we prefer that it will not happen because we are dealing with things inside. We do have partners. It's mentioned on our website, several partner companies that are doing projects. They're certified for SwitchRTC, certified for the APIs. They've already built things with it, and they can do things for customers who need. We prefer not to deal with that unless really somebody twists our arm. So the APIs, there's a pretty extensive API. We have documentation. I can share it with you here as a screen share, but we are not going to be able to go through all of them. And you can do all the things that you can see in the sample application, and a little bit more than that, actually, can be done through the APIs. The idea of the sample application is that it shows a demonstration to the customer, to the developer, how to do this with API. So you want to do remote mute, you have that in. You want to share screen, whatever. Okay, so the idea really, that's the experience from working 10 years building developer solutions at RadVision. That's what I was doing there. So giving flexibility to the users is one of the things that we know how to do.
Of course. How do they find that on the site? Because we're talking about SwitchRTC.com. How quickly can they find how do you extend?
The APIs, you mean?
Yeah.
Whoever, you can just put in through the form there a request, and we will share the link to the APIs.
Right.
Everything is online.
Oh, okay. And I think Michael has a question.
Oh, I did. Did I? I can't recall exactly. Oh,
we're not seeing you, Michael, but that's okay.
Are you not seeing me? You should be seeing me.
We're seeing Amir on your share. There we go.
Here, but I'm also there. Any engagement with higher resolutions? Have you tried this in 4K to see if it works or breaks or what have you?
No, I don't think that WebRTC and Chrome supports 4K. And anyway, think of the bandwidth that 4K requires. It's a nice thing to mention and as a check mark, but I don't see it really,
No, actually, in VP9 or in H.265, 4K is quite doable, but as it is on the vanguard of things.
But if everything that is supported in Chrome, we can do. Okay. But I don't think it's supported today.
Yeah, it might be supported in the codec, but the WebRTC part of Chrome and so on, not obvious. Anyway, the question, I knew that you would ask that, Michael, but the question really is use case too. And the only use case that ever comes to mind to me would be medical, I guess. So, I guess if the need came up, it would happen, right?
Broadcast contribution.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, 1080p does work, and I think that there were some. I can check and come back to you about 4K, because if it is really supported in WebRTC, then we can do that. You need, of course, a camera to support it, but I can check.
Have we got a camera for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Up to our.
Okay. So I'll be happy to run a test, but we need, first of all, to see that WebRTC can actually do that on the codec level.
Okay. It has been able to since March.
Okay, so in that case, then I'll be very happy to run this test if you have a 4K camera.
And I think you're going to need about 10 megabits for but it's VP9, so that's the part I'm curious about.
Okay.
Okay, moving on. We've had an extremely good technical presentation here and a very impressive demo. So the real question is, what's the commercial model?
The commercial model, and that's a point. Okay, open source versus commercial. Commercial, of course, open source has a lot of advantages. And what we, at the end of the day, one of the reasons to start this is really to provide a solution for companies that we're not in the mode of doing something on our free time and hoping that somebody will pick us up as at some point in time. And we're dedicated to this, and we're providing support and everything. And the business model is based on a one-time license fee plus an ongoing fee that depends on the scale that you have. Okay, so it's if you're at low scale, it's it's really affordable. We have small startups that are using us, and if you increase the scale and you succeed, then we enjoy the success as well.
Okay, so can you give us any form of indication of the cost of that one-time license fee?
I prefer not to.
I thought you might say that.
That's normal.
Is that because you haven't decided, or you just don't want to say?
No. We sure have decided. There's a price list and everything, but we share it with customers who are really, into working with us. We prefer not to share it publicly.
Okay.
I think, again, Amir, I think we're talking about people contacting you, and if anybody is in this target of interest, they should get in touch with you. The site, as I've mentioned a couple of times, SwitchRTC.com. I'm sure there's a very simple contact button on there to
yes, there is. Yeah, there is. And I can only add about the question about the pricing. We have even, cases of a one-man show startup, okay, with no real funding. So we do know how to work with small startups. And of course, the model will change based on that. So
I think we need to speak a little after, maybe another day, not necessarily right after, but there's something that maybe could be done for at least some testing and things. We do a lot of work on testing and bringing ideas and problems that we have doing this every week. We've been doing it for several years, and this certainly is interesting to me, and I think everybody else is interested too. Anybody else have questions or comments or anything you want? I'm watching IRC.
Yes, I have one if you can.
Corrado, please.
Hello. I was wondering if, given that Android supports VP9 and obviously other codecs since KitKat, there are any plans for you to release a mobile client, a mobile app or something, or the APIs can work with and support any mobile client?
Yeah. So first of all, of course, it can run today. Chrome on Android, of course, it can run. The mobile application will not look so nice because it's not responsive, but except for that, from SDK perspective, no problem. Yes, we do have plans. I can tell you that we also have customers that actually took SwitchRTC and integrate our signaling into their application very, very easily. It's very, very straightforward, the signaling. We have a document that describes exactly how to do it in our documentation, so this was done already. It's just something that we have in our plans, and we will get to, hopefully in a short period of time. It's on our short list.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a great question, Corrado, because everybody's talking about everything is mobile. And at the same time, everybody on this conference and anyone who's listening to it probably realizes that mobile clients almost never have enough juice to run this thing decently. It usually looks poor, and you need special audio equipment. You need a decent headset or whatever. Otherwise, that's not going to work. So it's a big challenge. And phones are not the greatest. Tablets, maybe. I could see maybe running this on a tablet, but you're missing so much. You got no screen space. You have generally poor audio conditions. So great question. And I think the future depends as much on the future of mobile devices and how that's all going to pan out in the future as much as anything that you guys will be doing.
No, yeah. The advantage is that VP9 is an accelerated codec inside Android already. So it's in the operating system. So it's not an overlay you have to put in the application.
Right. Well, so I guess the I word needs. Go ahead, Amir. Sorry.
It depends on the system on chip that is in that specific device, if it is hardware accelerated or not. And not so many are actually supporting acceleration of VP9.
Oh, that's interesting.
And there's another thing that you need to look at when you do an SFU mode. You have multiple streams that are coming in, and you need to see if the device can actually do decoding in hardware acceleration of multiple streams. It's not always available as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was going to mention the I word, iPhone, iOS.
Nope.
So, well, if it's included, but would that be, because I know the conflict there, so you think that someday, like iPhone's going to be, iOS is going to have some kind of WebRTC support, or Safari, I should say.
Yeah, it is.
Is there going to be someday the VP9 on iOS?
It's at the moment what is going to be released in September, I think, on iOS 11 is H.264.
Yeah. Well, there's a big one hand clapping on that one. I think probably not big news. Any other questions? Anybody?
We just didn't mention the websites before, so maybe now's the time to mention.
I think I did say SwitchRTC.com.
Oh, no, I mean the other web, like my blog.
Of course. Yeah, let's go through that. Let's go through that because you are you're an author on several sites. Let's hear about it.
So yeah, so my blog that I started actually when I started to get into WebRTC, that's the new dial tone. And actually, I posted this week there exactly about these things of using on-premise versus communication platform as a service. And then there's another.
Amir, what's the URL for that?
The new dial tone.
All one word.
Yeah. And then you have WebRTCstandards.info, which I'm running together with Dan Burnett, who is co-editor of the standard, of the WebRTC standard. And the main thing we do there is monthly webinars that are very technical, where we cover things that are going on in the standard. Sometimes we bring guests to speak. So if somebody who is listening is interested to join as a guest, we'll be very happy to entertain that. And I also have another website that I'm doing together with Tzachi Levent-Levy. It's called WebRTC Index, and there companies can actually put what they're doing with WebRTC. Listing is free, and here you see it, WebRTC Index. So if you're not there and you're doing things with WebRTC, just click on the Add Your Company. There's a Google form, and then we'll put it there.
Oh, look.
Yeah, you're not there. Okay.
Okay, that's that. I missed one. That was the second one. I'm sorry. Could you repeat?
WebRTC standards. That's
Hang on.
NDRDS.
The main thing of WebRTC standards.info. The main thing we do there is actually the webinars.
Okay, but we want to show it anyway. There it is.
Yeah. So the main thing we do there is webinars, and we just
what does
promote it through there
with WebRTC?
What did you say?
What does Dropbox have to do with WebRTC? As I'm looking at one of your more recent posts, I guess it's promoted. Why?
I wrote about it a long time ago. I believe that Dropbox should have a lot of things with WebRTC. They did acquire a company in the past called Clementine. I don't remember when that happened, but the post says that. And unfortunately, we didn't see things coming out. I thought that it really makes sense, and that's why I wrote about it. Because if you look at the competition of Dropbox, they're competing with UC companies, so
Are they? I'm
Microsoft, OneDrive and Google with Google Drive. All of these are competitors of Dropbox that are providing a more complete solution, and the integration for working on documents together and so forth really makes a lot of sense to add video to it.
But only one of those has Condoleezza Rice on the board. That's Dropbox.
Okay.
For what it's worth.
Yeah. That I didn't know.
That doesn't mean that Dropbox gets acquired versus Dropbox adding other things.
There was once an article that Steve Jobs wanted to acquire them, I think, and they refused. They turned them down. And he said, okay, you're going to suffer.
Yeah, and then he made iCloud.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, interestingly, I've been just doing a little bit of following up on this business of VP9 support in this in the SoC, and even though there are lots of devices, lots of SoCs support the decoding, there are very few that support the encoding.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem, and I'm looking. It's the only hardware, or some of the hardware. The Samsung Galaxy S7 seems to be just about the only Android device that seems to support it. So,
and the reason for that is because the decoding is for viewing streams from the internet and so forth, and the encoding is for really doing experience like this.
Yeah.
So that's why it's priority one to do the decoding for them.
Yeah, but the fact that some do implies that in the near future it will come.
Yeah, it sure will. I hope that it will come faster, but.
So a question for you, Amir. What mobile phone do you have in your pocket?
Oh,
Something
it's an iPhone. It's an iPhone. But I also have an Android tablet that I use for all kind of things. So I can have, I can test both. Yeah.
Good answer.
Must test. All right, I think we've covered everything unless somebody else has a comment or question. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. All right, I think we will end this session. We are 4 minutes short of an hour. That's respectable.
I do have one comment. There's one thing that was quite kind of wrong with that demo. Everything worked.
That's a good point.
Things generally don't work with demos, and that was.
Well, it's only because I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's possibly true. You are the killer.
That's a good point, Andy. Thank you for that. Quick comment here. Remember to write us at opinion@vuc.me for your suggestions and comments. And also, by the way, we have a couple of Amazon links. If you're an Amazon customer, you could just click on those on vuc.me, and we will get a commission of 2 or 3 cents each. Thank you very much for that. See you next week.